Al Gadot, you have the Justice League. They're on a mission. They're fighting, and certain things are triggering Barry Allen to think about things that happen. And then you move forward once you have that.
So
Now we're
it is page 8. Let's just go straight in. Yeah, page 8. This is like a little pre-shift meeting they're having. I had a lot of fun drawing these little faces. This is the page where I basically show them all at work. So this is a big cross-section of the ship, the lower decks. So you can see just how vast it is. Tons of really big machinery, like stuff moving around. Lots of dust clouds, which play into the reasoning behind their clothes and their dreads and like all that stuff. Like you can see them moving through the clouds here. I really like the look of this. You know, like just these rough colors and rough inks. I think it's very good preparation for, where is it? Very good preparation for the actual finished product. So thanks to everyone who left comments on yesterday's video and who was digging the page. I really appreciate it. It eggs me on. Not that I'm going to stop, because I've been taking like 2 years to make this comic book. And you know, like, the funny thing is, taking so long to make your comic book, and that one of those perennial questions that seems to happen with creators, you know, like, should you start with a small project? The answer is yes, but that doesn't mean you should give up on your big project. I'm not giving up on my big project. This is kind of like my big story. It's not going to fit in one issue. I'm not going to be able to leave a cliffhanger and then walk away. Nevermore. I'm not going to, you know, and I'm also not going to be able to just let this one go. Like, I want to tell this story. And even though it's been like 2 years, I guess, and I really feel like I know the story and I know the characters, I'm still like putting the pieces, like I have so many puzzle pieces and so many big chunks, and like I'm putting them together, and there's still not so much room for improvement, but room for discovery for myself, for example. So this guy right here, that's the Taskmaster. So the idea is that he's looking after these kids. Like, he's like the epitome of tough love, like, you know, like your worst boss, but fair. Kind of like that. So he's really looking after these kids, and I've mentioned in past videos that these kids are like little, like, you know, they've basically been sold off to work on these ships or rented out. So they're not doing too well. Of course, this is all they know for the most part. And he's kind of the only one really looking out for them. And so the thing I thought, you know, should I back up further and explain my story? No. It's a sci-fi adventure. So yes, so like slavery, lots of big machinery, spaceship type vessels that aren't in space, you know, all will be revealed. So the new the new things that I've discovered even today, as I was sitting at work, like trying to come up with some dialogue, is, so he's looking out for them. He's really tough on them. In the previous pages, I showed you him dividing up some of them into teams and playing games in front of everyone, which is like to get a ball across the room without getting stopped, kind of like a game of tag, if you will. And so I thought, like, well, it'd be kind of cool if this is actually like him teaching them some valuable life skills, you know? And so then I, of course, started thinking of like further down the timeline in the story, like, okay, so when is this going to come back? Like, at some point, these kids will be in a different situation where they're gonna have to, where there's enemies, so to speak, and they're gonna have to get information from one point to the next. And that's where a game like this, showing how they were taught how to do this, comes into its own. And it'd be cool if he's kind of preparing them for the world, the larger world that I've created, like all this background story, which is a rough place to be. And so he's kind of, in like a fun way, teaching them some really, dirty tricks on how to survive out on the street, so to speak, right? So then another piece fell into place where it'd be fun if that tough love, like we wouldn't have to wait like the equivalent of 3 seasons in a TV show before we get to that, because I might not be able to tell that story, like, because that's so much further down the line, possibly. Because again, like in order to actually finish the story, like one of the more important things that I've learned, like during the 100 days and working on Phosphor, is that you kind of, like, yes, tell your big story, but also like be able to break it down into smaller chunks so that you don't, that you do stay on top of the project and you feel like you can actually finish it, which is important. Because last August, I put up a page on like one of these sites where you can read comics for free, and then I just like burnt, and I was like, oh my God, what have I done? So it's kind of important to be able to feel like you can stay on top of it and like in control of the quality like you want and all that, I think. So this morning, the piece of the puzzle that fell into place was within the scope of the story I want to tell in these couple of issues. It is possible for one of the upper management characters to comment on what the Taskmaster is doing, whether to one of the kids or the Taskmaster himself, or just to himself as an observation, because he used to be one of those kids being raised by him on one of these vessels, because he's been doing this for a very long time. And then the reason it falls into place even more is because there's a lot more to the background story of the Taskmaster. He's actually in hiding. He's actually in hiding because of something he did in his past as a treasure hunter of some sorts that killed off his crew, pretty much, and got him in a lot of trouble and made him a wanted man, losing his ship and all that. That, and like the loss of life pained him so much that he's basically gone into hiding. He doesn't want to get caught either. And so he's just in one of these ships, and like he never leaves the ship, ever. Even when they moor, like he doesn't get off, doesn't want to get caught, doesn't risk it. He just punishes himself in that way for what he has done in the past. But because in the past he used to be such a different person, so you could say like in his first years doing this, he still told a lot of stories, not necessarily about what he was actually doing, but like a lot of stories like that deal with the myths of the place that he was trying to find, that made him so obsessive that really inflamed the passions and the imagination of some of these kids. And if one of these kids then grows up and ultimately ends up being the captain piloting the vessel that he's on right now, that's how his past can catch up to him, because they're on a secret mission to find one of these places based off the stories that they were told as children. Does that make sense? So that's kind of like even though I've got so many pieces of the puzzle and large chunks in place, I'm still finding I'm discovering new things after 2 years. That's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. I had a real like aha moment this morning. All right. I was watching that Heroes show on Collider. If you don't know it, it's basically like everything that's happening in TV and movies, superhero related, by a bunch of geeks. They're just talking about it. There's lots of these shows, but I'm particularly fond of these guys. But then I kind of just end up sitting here and sinking into my chair with a bar of chocolate. And now I'm like, oh God, no. Let's get in an hour, because I'm actually also I was talking a little bit about finishing up my subtitles for the Matrix sequels fan edit that I've been working on. So all the subtitles are done. And so I've been really organizing my time to make sure that I get like an hour in on comics and then work on that. But I'm actually like, this is one project where like I can sit here and draw for like an hour. And of course I'd rather sit here all day, but with these roughings I can get a decent amount of work done. However, with editing films, it's so time consuming. And so I'm thinking, like I did this yesterday as well, where I'm like, just stick to the comic for now during the week and wait till the weekend so you have like a full 8 hours, because movie editing is gonna be that time consuming. And also Thursday and maybe another day I'll be going out, so there's not that much time for the comics, so get as much time in as I can. So that's my little update. I've rambled on far too long, I can see. Whoa, 9 minutes. Oh dear. That means I'm gonna have to show you 9 minutes of footage of me drawing. Better get started. Hope you guys are having a good one. Thank you for leaving comments. I'll be seeing you tomorrow. And I hope you liked what you've been looking at all around here. In the meantime, I'm gonna get started. Catch you tomorrow. So thanks again for checking out my day 22 of 100 Days of Making Comics, round 2 for me. It's the little internet challenge that was started by Kevin Cross of Monkey Mod fame many moons ago, and that many of us have tried to emulate, carving out a little bit of time each day for 100 consecutive days in a row to work on our personal comic book projects. There's lots of us. We call ourselves the 100s. Be sure to check out our Facebook page, or if you just look around on 100 Days of Making Comics here on YouTube, you'll find lots of us. I also put up a little playlist, so every now and again I just put some random new videos in there, just so you can get an idea of the wide variety of artists that are I'd lost my train of thought. Oh yes, making comics.